what are your favorite stories? What are your most memorable moments? When were they there for you? What are some funny stories that you have about them? Not jokes or anything embarrassing, but something that could be a truly funny story to actually tell in the toast.
Hey, we have Eddie Rice on the show today, and he is going to talk to us a little bit about writing a speech for weddings, along with, I'm sure, a lot of other great tips when it comes to toasts and such like that. But Eddie, can you give us a little bit of information about you? Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I actually started out as an eighth grade science teacher and did not pursue that route for too long. I taught for 5 years and then pursued the field of speechwriting. I had a good background in college with rhetoric classes and with public speaking that I was able to find people who needed speeches on sites like Elance and Odesk, help them out. And I built up my first set of clients from those engagements. Those websites were the predecessors to Upwork.
Okay.
So just like that. I got my first set of clients, taught myself how to build a website, taught myself how to get referrals and do content marketing, and built up a base of clients from there.
Oh, cool. So you have always kind of had a knack for writing speeches and speaking, I'm guessing. Is that kind of what you think, or?
Yeah, it's something that I kind of fell into. I didn't really know that this was something that I was going to grow up to do. I was really the shy kid in school, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
I was not the person who was raising his hand to answer questions or to do presentations. That ability or talent or just skill came later in life when I started to do more public speaking in my own life. And I found that I actually liked it and didn't hate it too much. So I kept improving at it and got better at it, and then decided maybe I can help other people do the same.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. Well, what you're going to help us with today is about wedding toasts. So I think you reached out to me and I thought, oh my gosh, that would be such an amazing episode for the podcast, because I can speak from experience, having gone to a lot of receptions as a photographer. I think that they're really fun to have, wedding toasts. I think they add an element of like emotion and personalization that I love as a witness, but also they can be royally like embarrassing and awkward and uncomfortable. So I'm sure you can kind of help bridge the gap between some of those things. So tell us about the process.
Sure. I think you have to start with the goals of a wedding toast, and that's to honor the person and honor the event. It's a toast. It's not a roast. And if you can remember that, you're not up there to tell embarrassing stories. This isn't a Hollywood, production where you have, Adam Sandler from The Wedding Singer or those speeches from Wedding Crashers or things like that, where instead you want a heartfelt story that you want to tell about the person that you're toasting, and then give some heartfelt words to both members of the couple and end with just a closing cheers. That should be enough to give you an effective wedding toast pretty well to start off.
Can we talk about like some do's and don'ts maybe, or
of course,
what would be your next thing?
Yeah, some do's. So definitely tell great stories in the toast. So one of the things that I run through both in my book and when I work with people to actually write wedding toasts with them is we do a lot of brainstorming questions where we come up with, what are the great stories we could tell about this person? What are their funniest moments? What are their most memorable moments? When have they truly been there for you? Like what can we tell that's going to honor them? So that's something you definitely want to do with your toast. Second, you want to keep it at around 5 minutes in length. You don't want to be up there. Yes. Everyone loves that rule, and I wish everyone would stick to it. Right. Because I've been to weddings where, it's 15 to 20 minutes for somebody's toast, and you've lost your audience after maybe about 7 minutes at the most. So you want to keep them short and sweet. We're talking just one great story to tell, and that's really it. So those are my two big do's. And I think 3 would be preparation and rehearsal. Okay. I think a lot of people get caught up in the actual words that they want to say. And then they also then forget that they actually have to practice and rehearse ahead of time. So that's something that you really want to make sure that you balance out, that you've taken the time to write something that's great, but you've also taken the time to practice it as well.
Right. So you're not one that recommends writing it at the table as the other person's saying their toast on a napkin.
Right. I've never seen anyone pull that off successfully. I think it's probably been in a few movies that it worked,
right,
because they've got screenwriters ready to help you out to do those moments. But in real life, that's not an effective strategy.
Right. Got it. Okay. Any don'ts?
Yeah, a big one. I think a lot of people want to use their cell phone to read off of. And
yeah.
And, that creates a few problems. One, the text can be really small when you're trying to read it. You're probably up there like squinting at it. Mm-hmm. Second, your battery can die. And third, that backlight from the phone hits your face and probably drives photographers like you absolutely crazy when you're trying to take a photo.
Right. And actually, as you're even saying, it's slightly, it's not aesthetically pleasing to have something in front of your face from a visual standpoint for the guests, right? Like as you're kind of like looking like this, you're squinting, and then it's also like covering your face. It's hard to get a good photo of you doing it. So that's actually a fantastic point.
And then another don't, I would say, is don't drink heavily before you give your toast. I mean, just Google wedding toast fails on YouTube, and you will find so many people that underprepared and overdrank and got up on YouTube for the wrong reasons. So, one shot of liquid courage ahead of time isn't going to do anything too much for you. But if you are, downing multiple drinks before you give your toast, it's not going to end well. So save that as your celebration for doing a job well done afterwards.
Oh, that's a perfect point. I love it. Nice. So let's talk about maybe even, I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into about kind of the process, but can we talk about that a little bit more, or?
Sure. So I guess to back up
your process, let's talk about kind of how you do this with your clients. Is that maybe a good way to?
Yeah, that's an easy way to start it off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So let's say someone needs a speech from me. Let's say, and obviously for this episode, it'll be a wedding toast. We'll give that example. Someone comes
but
to me.
But you do everything. I just want to.
Right. To clear that up. I'm not just the wedding toast guy. I wish I was, but keynotes, TEDx talks, whatever, business talks, those are all in my wheelhouse of speeches that I love to write.
Cool.
So someone will come to me, they'll email me through my website or referral from a friend and say, hey, I've got this speech that I need to give. We'll get on the phone, we'll talk through it a little bit, and then I'll send over a brainstorming questionnaire that gets to the heart of the speech that they want to give. So in this case, for wedding toast, it's those questions I talked about earlier. Right. What are your favorite stories? What are your most memorable moments? When were they there for you? What are some funny stories that you have about them? Not jokes or anything embarrassing, but something that could be a truly funny story to actually tell in the toast. Yeah. So they send in the questionnaire, and then we get on the phone and we talk through the answers and we go in depth into them. This allows me to hear what they're talking about, their voice, their point of view, everything that they want to say. From all those ideas, I take them and I whittle them down into about a 5 to 7 minute wedding toast, just depending on how much we have. And I will apply like a structure and an outline to it that we talked about earlier. So I can go into that a little bit right now.
Yeah. Where
you start off by introducing yourself, telling people how you're related to the member of the couple that you're toasting, because half the group that's there probably isn't going to know who you are. Right. So you want that really just quick opening. Then usually it's just one really good story that you want to tell. And you simply say, look, I'm here to give, I'm here to tell one story, and here it is. After that story, you give a heartfelt message to one member of the couple, heartfelt message to the other member of the couple, and then you end with a cheers. Just a 1 to 2 line quotation. It could be from a song, a movie, a book, and you just end with raise your glass, end with that quote, and then just say cheers afterwards, and you've got the structure of your speech down.
Okay, awesome. So with you actually write these for people to perform.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, that is so cool. There's like your little nugget right there, folks. Don't be stressed out on if you're a groomsman, bridesmaid, or even the couple, I'm sure, could use some speech writing or toast writing. Parents, everybody, actually. That right there is like so relieving to hear that somebody can actually help you with this. If you're like one of those folks that don't want to do it, you're really nervous. There's people out there like Eddie.
There are. We're a small group, but there are freelance speechwriters that exist. It's a pretty lucrative freelance business. So if you want to get into it, I can give you tips for that. Or if you just need the speech yourself, I can help you. And I've got referrals as well across an entire network of writers that do this. It's just kind of an unknown niche.
That is so cool. Okay. Let's talk about kind of the practice and rehearse, because you say that's something that people often get it. Like this might even happen to people that actually have you write their speeches. Like, okay, great, I got the speech. And then they like don't even rehearse it or practice it. Let's talk about that a little bit. How much time in advance do you recommend writing a speech and kind of giving yourself to practice it?
What I would do is say a full month. I would do 2 weeks in writing the speech, making sure it's the words that you want, and then another 2 weeks in preparing it and rehearsing it.
Wow. Okay. That's for 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes, I think, I mean, obviously, if you're a professional or like seasoned speaker, you can probably shorten it a little bit, but I try to give people as much time and as much leeway as possible because stuff comes up, you forget to do it. I just don't want you trying to cram it in at the last moment, thinking that you can do it a week ahead of time. You might be able to. It's just going to be a lot more challenging and a little more stressful than you want it to be.
Of course. And it's not like you're rehearsing this for 8 hours a day for a month. It's, probably.
No, it's 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. When you're in the shower, when you're driving to work, when you're just taking a walk, just those like extra few minutes in the day, you can use that time to rehearse. And it's kind of like studying in school where you don't want to cram at the last minute. You want to make sure you space out your studying, like over time.
Right. That makes total sense. So how did you get the idea to kind of help people with wedding toasts? I guess I know that you do it for everything, but this is super specific. And I've never really even heard anybody that was interested in helping folks with this. Did you see a lot that were going badly, or what spurred this?
People sought me out. So when
people were actually asking for it.
They asked for it. So everything that I do really is generated by what my clients are asking for and what it is that's on their mind. So when I put up my first website for Rice speech writing, and it was I had different names and iterations over time, but just the general me hanging out my shingle for speech writing, people just started asking, "Hey, can you do wedding toasts?" And I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. And I was halfway decent at it, enough that I got referrals. And then even my friend, Josh Womack, had a website for a while. It was called Laugh Staff. And he got part-time comedians to write people's wedding toasts for them. And he and I developed this idea just independently of one another. Laugh Staff isn't around right now. I think they kind of lost their business during the pandemic because not a lot of weddings were going on. But it was still a model that worked pretty effectively.
Right. Yeah, that is so cool. And it doesn't sound like you recommend doing jokes and no roasts.
Yeah, it's just so hard to pull off. Like, I wish I could recommend it. I think if you have a humorous personality, you can probably do it. But too often people just find jokes on the internet and try to retell those. Either we've heard them before or they're just not very good and they just don't land. So I would much rather have someone tell a heartfelt story that's going to land than just try to do one of those just like groan-worthy one-liners that just is not going to come off well.
Right. Groan-worthy things. I like that. Cool. Well, actually, so you have a book.
Yes. Toast. Short Speeches, Big Impact.
Okay. That is great. Can you tell us where we can find that? And like, is basically, I'm assuming kind of what we talked about in this episode, you go more in depth in the book about how to do each one of these components.
Correct. So you can find on Amazon and any other ebook retailer by the time this episode airs. I just got everything submitted last night.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It felt amazing finally hitting like submit on a lot of these websites.
Right.
So by April 18th, it should be available in multiple outlets to purchase in print and ebook form and eventually audio form as well.
Awesome.
You're 100% right. It takes you through the entire speech writing process as if you were one of my clients. So I said to myself, what if I could take what I've done with other people and distill it into a book? And that's what I did. I wrote it down. And then the second half of the book is actual speeches that people have given. So it's wedding toasts, promotion speeches, award speeches, and you can look those up and read them for your own pleasure, but also to get ideas and inspiration about how you can create your own toast for your occasion that you're looking to give it for.
That is so great. Great idea, by the way.
Thank you.
Awesome. I love the niche-ness of it. And for our industry specifically, it's super helpful. And I think that most couples, the couple usually says something, one or two of the parents say something, and then usually at least one of the bridal party members say something. So that's a lot of people just continuing to ramble potentially, or kind of take up a lot of time on your wedding day. I know this isn't necessarily maybe even something you've thought about, but when you're planning a timeline for a wedding day, you don't want people to talk for 10 minutes each. That's like an hour right there that I just said. And so, if you're planning to have any of your guests or bridal party members do any of these toasts, I think this is an awesome resource because it will really make big impact, but then also help with your timeline and being conscious of all of the events that are going to be happening during your reception. So,
100%. I think 5 minutes is the perfect length for any toast, and that will help keep things moving. No one ever complained that a speech was too short.
That's a perfect way to say it. So cool. And then actually, if somebody was interested in hiring you directly, where can we find out more about you?
Rice Speechwriting, RICE, speechwriting.com.
Cool. Okay. And then do you have Instagram or any other place that we can find you?
I've got LinkedIn. I post there, I'm not going to say regularly, but often, and often enough that you can get speech tips from me. But also, if you go to my website, you can sign up for my newsletter, and that's where you're going to get most of the great information from.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the show and sharing all these awesome tips. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we get off?
I would just say, just remember to honor the person and honor the event with your speech. If you can do those two things, you're going to have a memorable toast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eddie.
Thank you, McKenzi. This was wonderful.